It ain't over.
The fifth suspect in the Young Dolph murder investigation is behind bars this morning, 3 years after his initial arrest.
Yeah, Shundale Barnett.
Back in the news, another suspect, well, an old suspect who somehow slipped through the cracks, Shundale Barnett, the cousin of Justin Johnson, a.k.a. Straight Drop, the guy who just got life plus 50 years or whatever he got. He has been arrested in Memphis. He wasn't hiding.
He was arrested in 2022 in Indiana with convicted killer Justin Johnson as Johnson fled Memphis after Young Dolph was murdered. Now Barnett's accused of helping him escape.
Was arrested when everything happened, and he was charged with accessory after the, well, they said they were going to charge him with accessory after the fact back in 2022 because he rented the car that Justin Johnson, a.k.a. Straight Drop, used to leave town. And remember, they got caught in Indiana or something, and Shundale Barnett was taken into custody at the time in Indiana.
January 11th in Brazil, Indiana, authorities captured Justin Johnson, wanted for the murder of Young Dolph, along with Shundale Barnett. The following day, at a multi-agency press conference, Barnett's arrest in connection to Johnson was announced.
Shundale Barnett is a person who we believe was providing assistance to Justin since we've been looking for him. And he now faces charges of accessory after the fact to first-degree murder.
But he was released, and according to the Memphis police, they never actually, the U.S. Marshals grabbed him when they were grabbing his cousin Straight Drop, probably assuming that he would be charged, but the Shelby County, Memphis prosecutors had to actually charge him for him to be actually charged, which they did not for whatever reason. And this is an example of the criminal justice system, even in homicide cases, is not as precise as you might assume. I don't know if sounds like he just slipped through the cracks. The Shelby County prosecutor didn't bother to charge him. And so he has not been wanted all this time. The warrant, they must have just put the warrant in. They knew where he was at. He was in Memphis. They went and picked him up.
According to Clay County Sheriff Paul Hardin, Shelby County was contacted and told Clay County was holding Barnett on Shelby County's warrant.
And we were contacted on January 21st, and they told us that they no longer were wanting to come up and pick up Mr. Barnett, and that we were to release him at that time.
When asked if he thought it was strange given Barnett's connection to Justin Johnson, the sheriff responded,
I'm not sure what the warrant was for out of Shelby County, Tennessee. All I knew was that there was a warrant for his arrest. Whether he was involved in the altercation in Tennessee or was just a passenger in the vehicle with the other individual, I don't know.
Refresh your memory, his cousin Straight Drop was the guy who didn't talk. The other shooter, Cornelius Smith, is the one who got on the stand and said it was a $100,000 hit paid by Big Jook. And Big Jook had a relationship with Straight Drop. So Cornelius Smith never really got any money. He got a couple $100. I think he got $300 twice or something like that. And this is, I don't want to say standard, but I mean, I know about a few, well, in the course of what I do, I know about different things involving hitmen and all that. And, you know, you got your professional hitman and you got your crash outs, which Cornelius Smith definitely was. And people play them all the time, don't pay them. I think they were planning on killing Cornelius Smith, but he didn't go to the meeting where they were going to bump him off. But so he got his get back by telling on Straight Drop. And I wonder what the point of bringing Shundale Barnett is in now. Obviously, the case has been adjudicated unless you think there's more people involved. Now, if you just think Shundale Barnett only rented a car and that accessory after the fact was the only thing he did, you wouldn't bother bringing him in because accessory after the fact is in most states a 0 to some year charge, meaning it's a probationable offense. You can get probation for accessory after the fact to a felony. It doesn't really matter what the felony is, even if it's homicide. And so they charged him now with accessory after the fact and first-degree murder. So they're implying he's part of the conspiracy. Now, that could just be a scare tactic on him to get him to give up some information. Remember, the trial of Govan Hernandez is coming up this year. And well, seems like the criminal justice system down there in Memphis is pretty incompetent. Remember Straight Drop himself, the man who pulled the trigger that took out Young Dolph, or one of them. He was a guy who shot 3 people at a bowling alley not that long ago. I don't know, 5 or 7 years ago, and he only did 2 years or something in prison. In almost anywhere in the country, you shoot 3 people at a public place in an argument, you're going to do a decade plus. At some places, you might never, you might not come home for 25 years. I mean, that's to be in a public place, get into an argument, go to your car, get a gun, and just shoot 3 people is very antisocial behavior. So if Justin Johnson's had done what he had done in most other states, he wouldn't even have been out to take Dolph's life.
We asked those agencies what's next with Shundale Barnett. Even though he still had a warrant out for his arrest, they said they weren't going to execute it. Well, this morning, we got our hands on the new information, and basically, according to court documents, it reads that Barnett rented a gray Dodge Ram a month after the murder of Young Dolph from a rental car place here in Memphis, matter of fact, on Poplar Avenue. According to police, witnesses saw Justin Straight Drop Johnson leave in that Dodge Ram the night police went to attempt to arrest him here in Memphis. Barnett now facing accessory after the fact, first-degree murder, attempted murder, and theft. Again, Barnett.
They must have some reason for just now issuing a warrant for Shundale Barnett, because he's been actually picked up and taken into custody, I think, twice in Texas in the last couple of years. So there was, and released, so there was no warrant on him. So this is a new thing, and maybe they knew he was in Memphis, so they issued it so they could go pick him up. And I'm sure they're grilling him right now. There is no money. Whatever money was dispersed, that was several years ago. Even if he got some of the 90, 80,000 or whatever the Straight Drop had, because remember, Straight Drop was supposed to give 40 to Cornelius, and he didn't. Even if he gave some of that money to Shundale, or a lot of it, that would be long spent. Shundale don't have money for a lawyer. So, again, this leads to thinking that law enforcement thinks there's more to this. Maybe they want to get him to talk about meeting up with Govan Hernandez, or seeing Govan Hernandez discuss this homicide in advance, which would make him guilty of first-degree murder. I do not understand how Govan Hernandez is out on bond, orchestrating a homicide. I mean, that's textbook first-degree murder. How is Govan Hernandez out? If you go back and look at some of my stories, I mean, if it comes out, or if you told me that there was some law enforcement in Memphis or part of the political hierarchy that was helping whoever get Dolph and clean it up afterwards, it wouldn't boggle my mind. But now Shundale Barnett is in custody. He's facing first-degree murder. He's going to need to talk, or... Like, how is he in jail with no bail and Govan Hernandez is out walking around doing podcasts? Kind of mind-blowing. Kind of wild. So, look for there to be some more developments in the Young Dolph case soon, and you could refresh your memory a little bit with this throwback clip.
Fact number 1. Keon Wright, a vice president and road manager for CMG, appears from his prison records to have just completed, like a few weeks ago, serving 7 years on a 10 to 15 year plea for shooting up Young Dolph's truck in Charlotte back in 2016. Remember the 100 shots that bounced off Dolph's bulletproof truck that Black Youngster was originally charged with doing? Well, if you thought that all just went away and was an unsolved mystery, let me refresh your memory. There was a van rented by Mr. Sammy Benson, aka Black Youngster, and that was used in the attempted homicide. It was full of shell casings, maybe DNA evidence at a black college performance thing in Charlotte. And Youngster was initially charged, but then he said the van had been stolen and Keon Wright took the fall. So you mean that the vice president of the same company that Black Youngster worked for happened to be the one who stole the van that he rented, and then he happened to use it to shoot up Young Dolph's truck, and there's no conspiracy? That goes to show the power of serious money when you have top lawyers and a guy like Keon Wright willing to take a 10 to 15 year cop so Black Youngster, the artist, stays out of trouble.
What it do? Sport Vato, the OG, kicking it loud with Rico Television, representing that motherfucking Kush County down here in Orlando. You know what I'm talking about? CMG till I die, cocaine, music, and you know what I'm talking about? Or you can say cars, money, gun. We're gonna kick this shit out tonight, you know what I'm saying? That club Roxy, yo, got it. My niggas gonna tell the motherfucking stage that we paint the city white. Goddamn it, if you on that white, take a line. Goddamn it, if you on that brown, take a line. You know what I'm talking about? Just make sure you come to the club with them lines.
Fact number 2. Now that was a guy named Vaso, aka Corey McClinton, yet another CMG road manager. He was the guy charged with actually Young Dolph at the intersection of Hollywood and Highland, a gigantic tourist intersection in LA, back in September of 2017 around the Shoe Palace or the Lowe's Hotel. And this was just 6 months after the attempt on Dolph's life in Charlotte. Again, a CMG road manager slash vice president is charged with trying to murk Dolph. But this time, Dolph didn't make an identification. Well, he didn't in Charlotte either, but they didn't need one. And even though Dolph went in critical condition, charges were dropped after 48 hours on Avato.
The LAPD now wants to talk with rapper Yo Gotti following a shooting in front of Lowe's Hotel in Hollywood.
Mr. McClinton was held by LAPD for 48 hours and released without charges, presumably because Dolph would not identify him and there weren't any other good witnesses or precise enough camera footage. But 3 guys associated with Yo Gotti visually threw Dolph on the ground in a parking lot, put slugs in his body. They all got cuffed up on the scene. So it's an absolute fact that one person that's a part of CMG management pled guilty to an attempt on Dolph's life, and only the fact that Dolph refused to identify another CMG vice president road manager saved him from getting charged for the shooting in LA. Speaking of Mr. McClinton, aka Vato, the Memphis vlogger True Results is our first piece of strange physical evidence. I'll leave you to be the judge. Okay, this is a photo that True Results created, obviously, side by side. So on the right, you have the guy charged for 48 hours in LA with shooting Young Dolph. And standing on a stage behind him is his buddy he's RIPing. I guess he just passed away. And on the left is the close-up of someone with a COVID mask pulled down so you can see their face. Now, if you look, you'll notice how the left side of both of their mouths is crooked with like a missing tooth. Maybe like they got shot in the mouth or something back in the day. Are these guys the same person? Sure might be. The guy on the left with the COVID mask pulled down was milling around the crime scene at Dolph's homicide wearing a security outfit on. He was supposedly the security guard from the Family Dollar next to Makita's Cookies, which according to the same blogger, True Results, immediately closed. The Family Dollar closed, just like Makita's did. I don't know, is that true? If you're in Memphis, you can say if it's true or not. But this guy, who sure looks like the guy on stage with Vato, was milling around the Family Dollar acting like he was a security guard there And I guess he looked through the footage enough to see him pulling down his mask for a second. And that's a weird facial feature to have. This True Results guy seemed like his whole blog is focused on justice for Dolph. I don't know if it's related to him or connected to him somehow. He actually claims his brother's house was recently shot at in Memphis because of his blog. I don't know if this is true. He's hyping things up to get views. Doesn't seem like it. Now, Mr. Crooked Mouth is apparently dead, as Vato was giving him an RIP shout out. Like I said, I guess True Results, the vlogger, keeps an eye on Vato's page, and it went through his IG post, and he happened to see it, and he screenshotted him, saying RIP to this guy who looks like he was posing as a security guard at the site of Makita's and was also on stage with. Pretty strange. I'll let you be the judge, but I thought he looked enough like it, and it bears mentioning. Fact number 3, there's another small YouTube channel run by that woman, Real Talk with Tamara. She apparently was a civilian employee for the Memphis PD and still, of course, is friends at Memphis police, talks to them. She tries to get insider info from them. I mean, they don't spell things out, and she doesn't either, but she said right after the Jook hit that her police friend would just say one thing, that the hit on Jook was a message. Well, that means wasn't the point in and of itself. It was a message to someone else. Who would that message be to? Hold that thought. Speaking of Mr. McClinton, a.k.a. Vato, the Memphis vlogger True Results is our first piece of strange physical evidence. I'll leave you to be the judge. Okay, this is a photo that True Results created, obviously, side by side. So on the right, you have the guy charged for 48 hours in L.A. was shooting Young Dolph. And standing on a stage behind him is his buddy he's RIPing. I guess he just passed away. And on the left is the close-up of someone with a COVID mask pulled down so you can see their face. Now, if you look, you'll notice how the left side of both of their mouths is crooked with like a missing tooth. Maybe like they got shot in the mouth or something back in the day. Are these guys the same person? Sure might be. The guy on the left with the COVID mask pulled down was milling around the crime scene at Dolph's homicide wearing a security outfit on. He was supposedly the security guard from the Family Dollar next to Makita's Cookies, which according to the same blogger, True Results, immediately closed. The Family Dollar closed, just like Makita's did. I don't know, is that true? If you're in Memphis, you can see if it's true or not. But this guy, who sure looks like the guy on stage with Vato, was milling around the Family Dollar acting like he was a security guard there. And I guess he looked through the footage enough to see him pulling down his mask for a second. And that's a weird facial feature to have. This True Results guy seemed like his whole blog is focused on justice for Dolph. I don't know if it's related to him or connected to him somehow. He actually claims his brother's house was recently shot at in Memphis because of his blog. I don't know if this is true. He's hyping things up to get views. Doesn't seem like it. Now, Mr. Crooked Mouth is apparently dead, as Vato was giving him an RIP shout out. Like I said, I guess True Results, the vlogger, keeps an eye on Vato's page, and it went through his IG post, and he happened to see it, and he screenshotted him, saying RIP to this guy who looks like he was posing as a security guard at the site of Makita's and was also on stage with. Pretty strange. I'll let you be the judge, but I thought he looked enough like it, and it bears mentioning. Fact number 3, there's another small YouTube channel run by that woman, Real Talk with Tamara. She apparently was a civilian employee for the Memphis PD and still, of course, is friends at Memphis police, talks to them. She tries to get insider info from them. They don't spell things out, and she doesn't either, but she said right after the Jook hit that her police friend would just say one thing, that the hit on Jook was a message. Well, that means wasn't the point in and of itself. It was a message to someone else. Who would that message be to? Hold that thought. I was watching an interview with the Memphis blogger, Mr. Stan. What's his name? Old Main is Stan. And he was interviewing a guy named Mr. Ian, I guess, who had a popularity run some years back. And then he started ghostwriting for Yo Gotti. And he confirms the old rumor that he saw Big Juck take bowls, aka pounds of the reefers, from Dolph when Juck and Gotti were on the outs. Does that mean anything? Maybe.
If a nigga told you, hey man, look bro, man, Juck put a $40,000 hit on you, bro. Like, nigga, man, come on, bro, I'm standing on that. I ain't.
Fact number 4, Memphis comedian Grove Hero, who Dolph helped elevate into having a pretty big career, went on his IG Live, 6-8 months ago, and said that Big Juck, maybe more like 9 months ago, Big Juck put a $40,000 hit out. I think he meant on himself, Grove Hero, because he was talking so much about justice for Dolph and etc. Now, Grove Hero is someone from the same inner city area as Dolph and Youngster and all the rest of them, and he's still around, and I'd be willing to give you pretty good odds if he heard that on the street it was true. When you put a hit out, the word floats around to the, in that community, and if you're in that community and people like you, someone's gonna call you up and tell you. I once had a friend of mine had a guy go try to put a hit out on him, and the hitter said, "You mean you want us to hit such and such from such and such street?" They knew him. They called my boy up and asked him what they wanted him to do. Of course, nothing happened. Moving on to fact number 5, more Big Juck. He had a 19-year prison sentence at one point. His sentence ended in July of 2012, the same year CMG did their deal with Interscope. And this 2012 could mean his parole discharge or his prison release date or both, I'm not sure. As far as when he would have went to prison, well, in Tennessee, offenders generally have to serve between 30 and 60% of their time. Juck was young, it was probably drug case. So let's say he got 19, he did about 6 or 7 years, just like Keon Wright. Definitely, as we saw, 8, the Charlotte shooting case so that Black Youngster could keep generating money for the collective as a CMG artist. People say that Juck took all the weight for some dope charges that could have also gotten Yo Gotti sent to prison, which of course would have derailed not only his career, but the whole CMG record label, which now exists. Remember, the year Juck got out is when they did their deal with Interscope. Yo Gotti has been putting music out for 27 years. His first song was called Creepin' from 1996 when he was 15, and he was known as Lil Yo. So by the time Juck would have taken a fall for him sometime in the early to mid-2000s, his brother had become Yo Gotti and would have had damn near a decade in the game already. So they had their long-term plan in place. And it sure looks like people are eating charges to protect Yo Gotti and the other artists at CMG thus far.